I'm Reverend Dr. Terry Gallagher. I want to welcome you back to another episode of Come and See, where we look at the hope for the future that's possible when faith guides our use of technology rather than our greed. You know, we're ever more in a global economy where things are being made in one far-off place and being used in another far-off place. And because you got to go across great oceans, the only way you're going to do it reasonably is by ships. Because to do the same thing by airplanes takes 50 or 100 times more carbon pollution to move the same amount of product. So ships are really the only way to do it, but they're not without cost, all right? There's more than 90,000 commercial shipping vessels plying the oceans right now, moving trade. So the first thing you gotta ask is, do we really need to move all that stuff, or can we get back to some local manufacturing so we don't need to move, well, couches from China to the US, right? You know, but given the fact that global trade and shipping already causes 3% of the pollution, and that's liable to double to 6%, then it's worthwhile looking at, is there a way we can do it a little more efficiently, all right? And so looking at how we can streamline ships so that we reduce the impact, the amount of pollution, it's kind of like looking at how we look at cars and trucks. Some of the same methods in how you reduce the efficiency cost and improve the mileage on ships is the same thing you do. So the first thing you look at is what reduces drag. And for a ship, there's two things. Obviously the wind, and the second is the water resistance. And so there's a way to design ships in both the bow and the stern that improves the flow of the water by the ship, all right? And that can gain you major fuel savings. But the most obvious one is to reduce the speed. Just like in cars and trucks, the faster you go, the more fuel you use. Reducing the speed in shipping saves dramatically, up to 30% of the amount of fuel that would be used just by reducing. There are advanced technologies now that aren't all that expensive. One of which is simply clean your propellers. You clean the propellers, you reduce the drag and the turbulence that's caused by that, you improve the mileage. What's another way? Another way is to coat the bottom of the ships with material that does not allow the algae growth and the sea barnacles to grow on them, which causes the drag. And so they have a shark skin coating that improves the slip through the ocean that ships can do. There's even more advanced technologies where they can use a bubble. They put bubbles underneath the ship, and that makes the ship glide, and so you can improve the technology. But the very latest technology is now including solar sails. So you're going to see ships in the future that have sails that have solar cells on them, and so they capture both the wind and the sun and translate that to energy power in the ship. All of these are innovations that are very necessary for reducing the global footprint. The other thing is most diesel-powered ships are using the very worst nasty fuels there are. It's called bunker oil. And that's got the most sulfur and nitrous oxides that are in it. They're actually very terrible to health. The World Health Organization calculates that right now, ships cause, just by their burning fuel, 60,000 deaths a year from lung disease and heart disease. And so when they come into ports, using a cleaner fuel when they're in the port, or when they're hooked up to the dockside using a plug-in power, all of that to reduce pollution, there's just smart things that we can do. So looking at every aspect of our transportation system, we've looked at cars and looked at trucks, and now looking at ships. All of that are one of the 100 solutions that's possible to have a future for our kids where they're safe for them to live and not a danger. Can we do this? Absolutely we can do this. There's international standards already on making the ships more efficient as they're being built, just like there are standards for fuel economy in cars, making them more efficient, and we can ask for them to be even stronger. The other way is to publicly rate one shipping line versus another shipping line, and then pressure the corporate customers that are using them that raise their green status by only using the fuel-efficient shipping companies. All of this makes mistakes. Once again, there's cost to do it, but there's greater savings that offset the cost if you're looking at the long-term picture. And when we think about the future of our kids, my kids and your kids, our grandkids, why wouldn't we invest in it? You know, in the Bible is filled with stories because we've had this love-hate relationship with the sea. And so the psalmist talks about the sailors going down to the sea in ships actually at their peril. And the storms that arise and take the fishermen or the seamen into the deep to their peril, and they plead to God. We found that also in Jonah, the story of Jonah, where the storm rises and the shipmates throw Jonah over into the sea to appease what they think is their God. God is showing us a way to calm the storms by reducing the pollution that causes the heat that drives the storms. Can we do this? If we listen to the Spirit of God calling us to another way, we can do this. See you next time on Come and See, where we'll explore yet one more technology when we use our faith to guide it, brings hope for the future for our kids. Take care.
And faith is not in knowing, it's a willingness to learn. And faith is found in loving when there's nothing in return. So come and see, around the bend, look my friend, and what could be? Come with me, come with me. There's so much more to know, so come and see. There's so much more to know, so come and see.